Well, the first step will be opening Photoshop. Once we have opened it, we'll click File, New, and here we'll enter the name. Fantasy Map. Now we'll choose the International Paper preset and we'll get a size like, for example, A3. Now we'll interchange the numbers. Why? Because we want the map to be landscape. So we'll enter here 297 and 420 here. Okay? In resolution, we can choose if we want to work for digital or print. In this case, since we're working for digital, we can enter 72. But since we may print the project, I'll work with 300. You're free to use one or the other. I'll enter 300 though, we can change it. I'll enter 300 though, we can change it later anyway. In color mode, since we're working digital, we'll select RGB. Click OK. Alright, this will be the canvas we'll work with. As always, when we start with Photoshop, we have a locked background layer. So to unlock it, we double click it and we unlock the background. The first item in our list is to generate what would be the first giant supercontinent. So with any brush, using a not too big size, we'll draw the shape of this supercontinent. So we'll create a new layer and using black as a color, for example, remember pressing B will select the brush and right clicking we can open the brush panel and change, for example, the size or the hardness. In this case, I'll use one of these brushes with size 28 to draw this shape. Let's go. Let's do an alternate shape. Remember, this is just a sketch and we'll perfect all of this. So this would be the first shape of our first supercontinent. Obviously, we can change this factor and try with other shapes. We can do another map shape, for example. Once we have made different tests and we have a shape that we're satisfied with, we delete the other tests and we keep the one with which will stick. In this case, it would be this shape. The next step, once we set the map in the center, will be start doing the cut lines or the tectonic plates that will form how this supercontinent will break. So for this, we'll create a new layer and with other color, for example, orange, and the same brush size, we'll create these tectonic plates always from inside outwards. We generate these cuts. So, for example, the first line will go up and always from the center, we'll start laying these lines, okay? Towards the end of the map. Now towards the south. Here we make another cut. And here another one. Okay? Notice we're making some kind of puzzle that will determine many things. Like mountain ranges and mountains, or how these continents are shaped towards where they evolved or where are they facing through the little arrows we'll place later. Okay, notice we're doing this kind of puzzle. So once we have all this mesh, we have to determine using little arrows what direction will each piece move towards. So we'll create a new layer, and using a different color, like for example blue, we'll draw an arrow. We'll duplicate this arrow later so we can place one in each piece. And now, as I'm saying, we'll use the Move tool, and while holding Alt, we can start duplicating the arrow. Then just click one of the arrows. This is important. Auto select has to be checked. And set to layer, so we can select layers just by clicking on them. So as I was saying, click on the arrow and hit Ctrl T in order to rotate each arrow. For example, we can set this one like this. The ones in the center, this is important, must face outwards. Kind of like this, and then patiently we keep going. This one, for example, can face south, and this piece can push towards the west, like this. As I was saying, click on the arrow, and holding Alt, we duplicate the arrow. We place the arrows all over the map with different orientations, okay? These orientations will determine where these plates move towards. So let's keep on it. All right, once we've placed all the arrows, we're going to group all the arrows in a group of layers. And we get all the arrows, which we can do easily by selecting the first one, holding Shift, and then select the last one. So all the layers in between will be selected as well. And now we drag all these into the group, so we have all these much more organized. Let's name it. And now we have all the arrows apart. So this is what we'll do next. We're going to create a new layer for each piece of the puzzle. So we'll select a green color, and we're going to keep contouring the continent, but this time around the tectonic plates. So let's create a new layer for each portion with land, okay? Let's go. This one, for example, would be like this, the shape we previously did, okay? Something like this, approximately. Now let's create a new layer and keep on it. This one right here, for example. There you go. Okay, here I made a mistake. It goes this way. More or less, we follow the shape. Another new layer, and we keep drawing the continents. This one here. There you go. It's very important that there are no holes and that each portion is in a different layer. Then we'll check one by one to see if everything's okay. So new layer and continue. New layer. Let's see this one here. All these here. And round here too. And finally, we have this bit here, this little island. There it is. So now we have all portions separately. And now we're going to do the same. Create a new group of layers and drag all these into the group here. See, we can now hide whatever we need without any problem. We're interested especially in the lines and the background now. So let's open this layer group. And as we were saying, we'll start separating each element. Before doing this, we have to check everything is all right. I mean, we had the layers and check one by one, seeing that everything's fine. For example, here we made a mistake. This one should be separate. This goes like this. And here there's another layer that goes around this layer. Okay. So we go layer by layer, making sure everything's okay. And if we see some lines that aren't closed, we close them. I insist, this is just a sketch. So it's just to place them in the map. This one here, perfect. Here we could improve this one here. Let's use the eraser tool with E. And this goes like this. Okay. See here, we also have to close these lines in layer 6, which is here. Okay, everything's fine now. Well, as I was saying, now the next step is to translate the arrows into the movement of the continents according to the time that has passed. Every determined amount of time the continents move. And in this case, we're going to make it look like thousands of years have passed and the continental drift has affected all these continents to break apart. For example, this goes in this direction. Remember, we can use Ctrl-T to rotate this map, for example, like this, okay? See, this would go this way and would keep rotating because of the action of these plates, and they would friction and it would slightly turn like this, okay? This one would go south, but this arrow here would push it towards the west. So it would go like this and slightly rotate, okay? So it's about just guessing, practicing some geology, though in an amateur way. So we generate these shapes. We can do something like this. This one here would go forwards. This would go down. This one up. This one would go down. Rotate. And we could make this island friction quite a lot here approximately. Place it here more or less like it was an archipelago. Okay? This one down here. This other one would end up crashing around here. Okay, so using the arrows, we ended up guessing a bit the position of the continent. Now, obviously, we're free to finish placing these and see how these could work. But, well, basically, what we have to do is make these continents join. Okay? Like this. Alright, when all this is in place, we can take all these elements we created, right-click, and merge layers. In order to merge all these continents in one layer. So let's get this. Hide the arrows for a moment. And let's see if we can slightly scale it. Okay, we'll place it around here. This will be our map. The main base of our first map. Let's get the paint bucket, pressing G, and paint this way the map. Like this. Okay, now it's finished. So let's head to File, Save As, and let's save the map. Okay? In the next video, we'll keep working with all these elements and we'll see how to generate the coasts and how the islands can be generated through volcanic activity. So see you in a bit.